Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. The idea that JP Morgan is cornering the silver market kind of keeps recirculating around as the price for silver continues to hover in the low $14 range. And most of you know that I posted a video questioning JP Morgan's silver holdings. And I think a lot of the consensus derived from the view that they hold a lot of silver, that much silver, and are, quote, cornering the market, accumulating more silver than the Hunt brothers ever did, stems from this article by Theodore Butler from January of this year. And it's a quite an eye-opening article if you take into account everything mentioned in it. And but I think what's really what sets this article apart and where it breaks down is this: verifiable 133 million ounces held in its own and other COMEX warehouses. Now, I'm not sure where to find that information, and it may or may not be true. He goes on to say that JP Morgan holds at least 675 million ounces of actual silver. Whereas Chris Duane was talking about how they hold some number in between there. And where are they getting this information? I did some deep digging, at least from what I could find. Maybe I'm missing something. And I do want to be open-minded about this. But I've not been able to find any information that's verifiable. In fact, I've read and looked at some other areas where they say that it's not verified and not readily available. Because, well, they're a private entity, and they're not required to show everything, but most of them do. Obviously, there are some things where they are. They have to show their balance sheets and the like, and that's kind of what we're going to take a look at here and see, if they really are cornering the silver market. I don't think they are. And I'll tell you why for several reasons, and it's kind of a rebuttal from Ted Butler's article and Chris Duane. But if you take a look here at their investments, these are very obviously they're not gonna break down and itemize every certain thing. Other securities, other investments. Who knows where silver will fall in that? You've got things like loans. Let's see here, total assets, cash due from banks, trading account securities, federal securities, treasury securities, mortgage-backed securities. And then down here is probably where it would be. Other assets, including intangibles. So we have other assets here, which would be, would be tangible assets. And you see these numbers here falling through. But how do you break that down? And then I found this, which is a JP Morgan Chase balance sheet from 2005 to 2018. And if you scroll back through here and look at these long-term investments, which, hey, those of us who accumulate silver, we understand it's a long-term game, right? So we're going to highlight that column there. And if we scroll over this chart here to see where it lies, we can see that they came through and acquired Bear Stearns in 2008. And then we can see here how the numbers have jumped here with the long-term investments. Assuming that silver, that makes up part of that and not all of that. And that's, maybe they started accumulating that. My guess is they probably didn't start accumulating right then because they didn't open up their vaults to the COMEX vaults until 2011. And we can see here that from 2009, there was a big jump in 2009, which, well, maybe they did accumulate some, but where did they store it? But then it was less in 2010. Now in 2011, they did increase it almost, $75 million, I guess more. These are in millions of dollars, so it's $507,255 million. It's hard to imagine those numbers, but nonetheless, you see there in 2011, and then things kind of slide back down a little bit from 2011. Now, it could be that the silver they had, that was at the time when silver was high. And by the way, make no mistake, I'm not doubting that they don't have some silver. And I also don't doubt that there is some manipulation therein in those markets. But considering how big this company is, my guess is the silver market is probably, they're not as focused on that as they are many other things, especially considering, other situations and stuff that they hold and the assets, cash on hand and the like. They have a whole lot more cash on hand and notes and loans receivable and that type of thing. These totals add up to a greater number there. So let's see here, scrolling back through into last fiscal year here, we can see that they've gone substantially down. And again, that could be because of the price of silver and the like has gone down, so those values have gone down. Who knows? It's assuming they hold that much. But with that being said, Ted Butler talks about that they don't need to, and Chris Duane as well in his most recent video, that anybody that would accumulate that much silver would mean that the price would go up because they're cornering the market. But it's because of their short positions and their short selling, their manipulation, because they own SLV, would mean that they can just suppress it back down with the short selling. And yes, that's very true, but it also means, and also we also know, and per many in the silver community, those who would be classified as, quote, silver pumpers, would say that, well, they don't have to, they're nobody, and this, by the way, this is true, that when people buy silver futures or ETFs or paper silver, electronic silver, they're not going to cash out for the physical. That's the whole reason why you accumulate silver in ETF electronic form, because it's convenient. And, and it's actually, that's a way to use silver as an investment to try to make money off of the trades and the like in the futures. So when you cash out, you literally are just cashing out. You're not silvering out. You're not physical. You're not going to cash out in physical. That's not how this works. So there's no need for them to really back it up per se. I think they have enough in there so that it doesn't raise a whole lot of questions. But, and again, whatever they can hide, they will hide. But just because they're doing that does not necessarily mean that they're accumulating that much silver. I just placed a silver order today, by the way. No problem. Any of us that want to buy silver, we just click a button and boom, it's bought. We've got it. The silver mines have picked up this year. There's a lot of people buying, and yes, there has been a silver eagle shortage. And because there's a lot more people ordering, but it's just a very slight little stoppage in the market. Because of the manufacturing cost, there's a lot of silver out there. But if they were to accumulate that much silver, as is somewhat predicted, 675 million ounces of what have you, there's a lot of different numbers here. To corner the market much more so than what the Hunt brothers did. There's no way, in my opinion, there's no way to hide that, no matter what they did. And by the way, the price would go up in spite of the manipulation that we talked about, the short selling and the like. So that's just some thoughts there. But again, I want to be very open-minded about this. But I don't think that JP Morgan is cornering the silver market and accumulating the numbers that have been speculated, unless somebody can show actual evidence. I'd like to see the verifiable 133 million ounces out there. And again, I don't know Mr. Butler. I doubt very much he watches this channel, but maybe he's got information. I don't want him to give away any trade secrets and how he got it, but I would love to see some proof of it. Just like with anything else, and as I've mentioned with other things in relation that seem to haunt this community with conspiracies out there, there's nothing wrong with questioning the questionable. But at the same time, when you take, because there's unanswered questions, when you derive a theory from that and essentially bring it forth as as if it's fact, because it fits a narrative that you want to support, that's dangerous in many different ways. And as I've said all along, these precious metals, gold and silver, they sell themselves. We don't need to engage in a conspiracy or a narrative that fits the mold because we think, okay, it's just around the corner. Silver's going to go up because of this or what happened. They're cornering the silver market. But again, I want to be open-minded about it because we've been surprised in the past with certain things with regards to certain crises, stock market crashing, what happened in 2008. A lot of people didn't see it coming. That's how these things happen. And it very well could be that all of this could be true. And it could be that Mr. Butler, who I think most of us can agree, is kind of the on the forefront of this with a lot of the research and work he's done. And I don't want to discount his work, but I think that, that it needs to be substantiated with some sort of evidence to show it, verifiable evidence in some way that somebody can hold rather than just taking somebody's word for something. So just keep that in mind, folks. Keep accumulating these precious metals only because of what they are there for to do, to protect us in times of economic instability. And in times of economic instability, when these big companies that have all this other money and other assets and intangible assets, hey, the intangible assets, they can just disappear out of thin air. Tangible assets never will, no matter what they are, but especially gold and silver, which have a track record, a history of as money. And that will never change, no matter what kind of hype there is out there, or no matter what anybody says. So post your thoughts below on this, on what are your opinions? And maybe some of you have information that shows that they are actually accumulating this much silver. So far, when I questioned in my last video, no one could really provide any, and most agree with me that, it's just kind of, out there. And so post your thoughts below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.